tem discutido muito o desenvolvimento versus a preservação. Aliás, muito à semelhança do que tem acontecido na Europa com a globalização e a regionalização. Em 1961, logo depois da libertação, Goa abriu as portas ao mundo. Passou a ser um paraíso para os turistas. E nessa altura começam as construções. Mas construções de uma forma desenfreada, aliás, como também aconteceu no Algarve. Nessa altura, os goeses reagem. Aliás, os goeses são pessoas muito participativas. E reagem tentando preservar as suas casas, que estavam a ser substituídas por hotéis de 7, 8 andares. E, portanto, achámos interessante neste programa dar-vos a conhecer como é que os goeses têm tentado preservar este património. Para isso, nós temos hoje uma convidada muito especial, a Tapandite, uma escritora, ela própria vivendo numa casa já com mais de 100 anos e que nos vai falar sobre essa preservação do património. Good morning, Etta.
Good morning, Nalini.
Etta, tell me how the Goans are trying to preserve the Goan heritage.
See, I don't want to start with an attack, Nalini, but Goans love their own heritage, and whatever you see standing today, it's standing because of the Goans themselves, not because of any government help from Government of Goa. But I don't want to use this as a platform to attack our own government. Let's talk about the positive aspects. Goans not only love their own heritage, they are also very thrifty and economical by nature. It's part of their culture not to throw anything away, to recycle things, to use things again and again and again. Nothing to be wasted. Even the coconut shell, which you don't throw away.
Every element of the coconut tree was found and put to good use. The trunk itself, when the coconut tree dries off, the leaves to create thatch for the roofs, the shells of the coconut to create articles, to create vessels and serving spoons. So there was a spirit of using and recycling in Goa through ancient times, and it's quite an Indian tradition of making best use of every natural resource and elements available.
The same way, there's nothing in a house that should be thrown away. It can always be repaired, recycled, reused. If you don't have use for it, you can give it to your neighbor. If you change your tiles, for example, tomorrow, you don't have to throw away all the old tiles. You can give them to your neighbor, and your neighbor can use some of them. Or you can use them to line the ground in front of the house.
Kaudan.
Yeah.
But what is this kaudan?
Actually, it's a very simple technique. You take the cow dung, which is waste from buffalo or cow, mix it with a little hay and water, make a paste, and apply it as a flooring material. And the reason why it was used as flooring was because it's easily renewable, it's easily available. You don't even have to have a cow. You can follow a cow and pick up cow dung, mix it with water and hay and apply it. And there are two ways of applying it. Either you apply with a broom, which is a thinner paste, or you make a thicker paste and you apply with your fingers. And when you apply with your fingers, you get that beautiful fan-like pattern on the floor. Plus, cow dung has some insect repellent properties, so it keeps the place clean. Now, if you have a hard floor and you know, Goans, we are a little superstitious. That's part of our culture again. So if there's a bad happening in the house, say somebody passes away, then the normal practice is to apply a fresh coat of cow dung. This way you purify the whole house, which you normally can't do with a hard floor. If you have a stone floor example, what will you do? You'll just wash it. But this way you put a whole new layer of flooring every time. Only thing its difficulty is that you have to renew it every 15 days. And now because labor is not available, people are moving away from cow dung flooring and putting in hard floors. But it's a very hygienic way, because once it dries, it's not excreta anymore. It's building material. The other reason I think is also ideological. The cow by Hindu mythology is supposed to have in its body 999 gods living there, which is why the cow is considered sacred. And Lakshmi, the goddess of prosperity or wealth, is supposed to reside in the dung of the cow. So, you are actually bringing in wealth, prosperity, happiness into the home.
I find it very interesting to find like broken tiles on the floor. How this started?
See, it's now of course you buy tiles or you buy plates and you break them and put them on the floor. But in the old, it started because these plates came as ballast on ships coming from China to India. And Goa was an entrepot, of a free port at that time. So they would dump this ballast on the docks. And because the Goans were very thrifty and economical by nature, as I told you earlier, they would pick up these plates and use them as flooring material. Once the practice began, it became fashionable to do it.
Well, my first interest in heritage conservation were triggered off by my research stint with a scholarship from Fundação Orient, wherein I explored the evolution of the Goan balcão, an element that has interested me right through my student days in architecture college. Most people always thought that the balcão is a colonial influence on Goan architecture, where my inference was quite the opposite. I believe that the alpendre of Portuguese houses is more a colonial influences than the other way, and the balcão itself is a very indigenous response to the climatic situation of the place, as well as the cultural changes that happened in society in the 18th and 19th century. The houses that were built in the Indo-Portuguese style were not necessarily conducive to the climatic situation in Goa. A lot of them are very similar to the houses in the north of Portugal, and the climatic conditions are severely divergent. So, in the 18th and 19th century, when Goans started building houses themselves, they realized that they need to have some kind of a space that connects them to the outdoors, connects them to to the street and to life on the street, and the balcão started evolving as an extremely nice response and a space to the Goan climate and the cultural changes that happened at that point of time.
You are part of, you founded the
Yes.
Heritage Network.
Heritage
Correct.
Network is the company I run. So we publish books on heritage. We encourage other writers to write on heritage. We also conduct walking tours on heritage areas in Goa. And wherever possible, we take them on tours, we do lectures, so that more and more people get to know about their own heritage, as well as other people from outside get to see Goa, and to see Goa as something which is more than just sun and sand and beaches and fun and frolic and parties and so on. And together all of us are constantly trying to create awareness, because we feel that once the awareness is there, that oh, this is heritage. For example, I had somebody give me a call, somebody from Asolna, and he said, please come and see my house. And when I saw the house, it was built in 1936 and it had all the features of a Goan house. And he looks at me and he says, is this heritage? Should I preserve it? Okay, which is a very good question, because unless you know what you have, how can you love it? And if you don't love it, why should you preserve it? So it starts there, and it always starts from the heart. Then the head takes over.
A lot of times people get perplexed by what heritage means, and to put it very simply in very plain words, heritage could define all aspects which are tangible or intangible. Intangible to the extent it could be a tradition, and tangible could mean immovable assets like built structures or a beautiful piece of land or natural resource, So any aspect which is man-made or natural, which has an immense historic, cultural, aesthetic, or architectural importance, could be termed as heritage.
When I first came to Goa 13 years ago, people used to ask, what is heritage? When they were standing on it or living in it themselves.
Anything that is largely important to the definition of the culture and identity of a place. So it could mean a person who who has contributed a great deal to theatre or music or any other element of the culture of a place, or it could be a building built 200 years ago by traditional craftsmen or colonial governments, or it could be houses built by a very important architect 20 years ago. So for me today, the Kala Academy is as much part of Goa's heritage as the Art Deco buildings of Panjim and the colonial buildings that we have. So it's a very, very broad term. It all depends on how we interpret it and what we want to encompass as being essential to the definition of our identity.
But then what to do, for example, even here in Saligaon, you see a lot of old big houses now. To preserve these houses, it costs a lot of money, right? And sometimes people don't have that money. So what can they do?
There are I don't have a pat solution that do A, B, C, D and you can start preserving your house. But as I told this gentleman, Xavier da Costa from Asolna a few days ago, I said, you must have a plan for your house. Even for me it is difficult to preserve my house, but because I have this passion and I wanted something to succeed, we thought we had 3 rooms, we'll convert 2 rooms into homestays. So we invite guests to come and stay. We have guests coming and staying with us. And that is one way you can preserve your home, by opening it to outsiders, tourists, and people just love to visit. Even if they don't want to come and stay, they love to visit. I have so many people, strangers, just walking up to the house and saying, can we have a look? We used to see this house closed up for 11 years. We want to see what you've done with it. And that itself is like a reward. But you can open your house to events, you can open your house to homestays for guests to come and stay. Somehow get the house to become also an earning member of your family.
The other fact that that's really essential for heritage conservation is regulations and legislation, which we've still not really been successful in getting the government of Goa to enact, because again they themselves aren't very aware and they do not understand how important heritage is for the well-being of the state. For example, we are a state that considers tourism to be one of the top 2 industries and income earners for the state. Yet we don't realize that heritage is very essential, as a very important component for Goa's success as a tourism destination.
Mas há exceções. Há homem, o Manohar Parrikar, que foi ministro-chefe do governo de Goa, ou melhor, à portuguesa, que foi primeiro-ministro do governo regional de Goa, hoje é um homem da oposição, que está necessariamente ligado à mudança da paisagem urbana de Goa. Basicamente em dois momentos. Um, na organização de um festival de cinema, o IFI, que ele trouxe para Goa e fez de Goa a sede do IFI, e que mudou a imagem nostálgica de Goa e transformou-a numa capital moderna, com infraestruturas modernas, próprias do Festival de Cinema. E o outro, uma intervenção no património, que foi o Festival das Fontainhas, que foi organizado com a colaboração da Fundação Oriente e com a Eta Pandit da Heritage Foundation. E o que é o Festival das Fontainhas? Basicamente é um evento cultural, com música, com outros, com mercados, com artistas que pintam nas ruas, e para isso, é um festival que acontece todos os anos, e para isso tentou preservar-se a personalidade do bairro das Fontainhas, dito bairro português.